It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games. Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now.
And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Happy Tuesday to everybody, however you may be consuming. Absorbing the show.
Yep.
Could be absorbing it at KSLSports.com. You could be absorbing it on YouTube. You can be absorbing it the old-fashioned way on your radio dial, on the AM or the FM.
Driving around.
Or you could be absorbing it via podcast in the future.
Yep.
Shout out to our friends in the future. Our
future absorbers.
Our future absorbers. God, we might have to ditch that one.
What? I like it.
We might have to. All right.
It's all encompassing.
I mean, it's unique.
All welcoming.
It's unique, which I think is kind of the flavor of this show. So maybe we
Jake
should.
and Ben, be absorbed.
Okay.
Get absorbed.
Be absorbed. Yeah. Okay.
I like it.
It has like a sponge thing going.
Whatever. However you want to absorb. That's up to you. That's none of my business, truthfully.
I never was a SpongeBob person.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you
I was too
were.
old
Did
for
that
it. Yeah.
fall into your wheelhouse? Sean, were you a SpongeBob kid?
it was, I hit the late end of it.
The late end? Okay. I missed it entirely. But my 8, soon-to-be 9-year-old has discovered the music thanks to her school choir. And so I got to tell you, it's the worst. How do and SpongeBob apparently is making a comeback. There's like a movie or something coming. I don't know, but wow, it's bad. How was that popular?
SpongeBob? Yeah, it's a little like
the music. I don't know about the cartoon, but the music is just so terrible.
Yeah, I believe that. It's a little like PG Ren and Stimpy, which if you were to watch Ren and Stimpy, you're like, this is not a television show. What is this trash? Like, and I mean that on purpose. Like, they're designed to be junk. Thrown together and chaotic, and certainly SpongeBob has that. And yes, it's almost a bit of a joke of how bad it is.
Honestly, if you go back, it's unfair to go back and consume media from ahead and have any sort of judgment, in my opinion, because it fits within the cultural window. That said, I think from like 1970 through 2000-ish, I think they only hired acid-taking psychopaths to write television. Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Like,
which is very Ren and Stimpy, but also very SpongeBob.
Like, there's no way that the people that wrote Ren and Stimpy were mentally with us. And look at some of the television that came out of the 70s. I mean, just wild. Anywho. It's probably not much better today. Does television even exist?
Not really. Not broadcast TV. It's sports.
Sports does really prop up everything.
Yep.
Sports and NCIS.
The Bachelorette. Until my girl Taylor.
Until she got to it.
Got her hands on it.
By the way, this is really random, but I'm 40% sure I saw Jen Shaw at Costco yesterday.
Oh, okay. You should have harassed her.
But
should have bothered her.
But here's the thing. No. And it didn't look that
You're
much
one
like
of her biggest fans.
It just kind of looked like her. But and this is where, but it was an employee. So I don't.
So wasn't somebody picking up protein shakes or getting their tires changed?
No.
Or getting the $1.50 dog and drink combo? She's like stock at the show.
So
Is that Jen Shaw?
I don't think.
It's a work release program?
I don't think it was her, but I did have the thought, like, okay, you get out of the slammer. You've probably got to get a job. You know, your old line of work, probably not an option.
Uh-huh.
I know several people that work at Costco that say it's a baller place to work.
Yeah, it's all I've heard.
Yeah. So I don't know. It didn't seem that out of pocket. Maybe.
Yeah.
But that's why I put it at 40%.
Okay. I did not expect you to say she was working there.
I didn't expect to see her in a Costco vest.
I will say this. If you and I ever hit 20 years doing this show, which we are 16 years away from, my goal as a gift to you would be Jen Shaw's badge, her name tag, from Costco.
Oh, my gosh.
The Jen Costco tag.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, priceless. An heirloom. Something you could pass down to your girls.
And I did not get close enough to read the tag. See Jen on there and be like, no way.
No.
I've told you I've run into at least 2 of the housewives in the wild, and neither one of them was Jen Shaw. One was the Whitney Rose in the beer line at the James Taylor concert.
Okay.
And one was Lisa Barlow in the elevator at a jazz game.
Have we ever drafted local celebrities?
Oh, that's amazing. We should do that.
Okay. Put it on the list tomorrow, Sean. We'll let you go Wednesday tomorrow.
Why would Dick Norris be taken number 1?
Yeah.
Sean's in there laughing. The dude's a legend.
Yeah,
Rest in
absolutely.
peace.
We've got a
I
couple.
know him.
Yeah.
Local celebrities.
Local celebs.
Well, what would you consider local? Like born here or lived here or is
I
notable
think their
from
fame
here?
has to be integrated with our state.
So Roseanne Barr would be out.
Who's like Devin Brown. Yeah, Roseanne Barr. Stevie Nicks.
What
Spent
about-
time here doesn't count.
What about Bob Redford?
Yeah, absolutely. Local celeb. Yes.
Okay.
Has strong Utah ties.
Okay. All right. Because there are some randoms that have, like James Woods was born in Vernal.
Yeah, no. Byron Scott or whoever it was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. We have
I don't think that's a Utah thing.
I heard a legend that one of Salt and Peppa lived here or something like that, but I've never been able to confirm that one.
Okay.
But there are, so yeah, Devin Brown was born in Ogden.
Something like that. John Collins was born here at the Air Force Base, right?
What about Rory McIlroy used to come over here and play when he was a teenager?
No, but like Phil Mickelson's wife, right? Wasn't she local?
She's like from Sandy or something.
Yeah.
So what about Finau?
Yeah, it's a great local celeb. I don't know if I'm going that high
Can
brow.
can we claim Mike?
I think I'm going lower brow.
Can we claim Mike Weir?
Yeah, I think so.
Even though he's technically
I don't think I'm going to draft
Canadian?
a single athlete.
No?
No, I'm going to leave that for you.
Oh,
I want the worst of Utah in my draft.
Honestly, is there anyone more famous than Karl Malone?
No. But that's not what I'm looking for. I mean, honestly, right now, Taylor Frankie Paul is way more famous than Karl Malone. She's still in, a weekly article or daily article at a lot of the rumor websites. So that might be my number 1 pick. We'll see.
I don't know if I'm saying rumor websites as an accurate gauge, really.
Her Q rating is high. So she's the most famous Taylor on the planet. No,
Listen,
she's the second most famous Taylor on the planet right now.
100% of our audience said, yeah, I know Karl Malone.
Sure.
Maybe 30% of our audience
Is lying. Maybe
knows
70. Okay, so
Taylor.
70% of our audience is lying. Then.
No, I genuinely think anyone listening above 40 has no idea who that is. There are so many people that do not watch the Hulu stuff and get involved. Like, I would say a significant portion of our audience don't know the housewives we just referenced. And 2 of them even have connections to sports.
People know Jen. She was pretty infamous, and then, yes, has connections to sports.
What percentage of our audience actually watches The Bachelorette? I bet it's low.
Well, no one's going to watch Taylor on it.
No,
It got shelled.
but honestly, I bet
It'll come back.
I bet it's super low. You and I are into that sort of thing.
I've never watched The Bachelorette, but I will watch anything Taylor does.
Right, but I don't think you represent the majority of our audience, or really anywhere close. I mean, sports, if we want to get philosophical, it does have an amazing ability of transcending demographics. You know, infamous sports figures are known, I would argue, more infamously than niche celebrities. Certainly reality TV stars.
Sure, Lamar Odom, if you're talking about infamous celebrities.
Or infamous sports. I mean, I'd even throw John and Carl. I mean, everybody, like, in the world, you can go up to places and say, I'm from Utah, and they go, oh, John Stockton and Karl Malone. I mean, sports has an amazing ability to reach everyone, whereas, you know, tabloids don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I love tabloids. Of the males in this country,
You consume them at a high level.
what percentage of males in this country consume tabloids? Or rumor pages?
I think more than we think.
Oh, I bet it's less than we'd
No,
think.
I think it's more than we think. I think there's some salacious weirdos out there, like me.
Well, yeah, but you are a weirdo.
Right.
Like meaning you're in the minority.
No, I think there are more weirdos than less now. I've been paying attention to this country for a couple of years now.
Like, you think our blue-collar workers out there blasting the show at a construction site or something like that have any idea who Taylor Frankie Paul is? No.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes, because when they go home, they consume trash television just like everybody else. In fact, they probably consume more trash television than they do sports.
Our audience?
Not our audience, but I'm talking about the guys at the construction site. I'm talking about the Joe average Joe, consuming more Hulu garbage on the Disney Channel because their kids have it and their girlfriend or wives watch it, and so they're just a part of it. Then they are sitting down watching the Masters for 4 straight days.
But I don't think a hostage watch is actually being into it.
Well, that's fine. It's not about being into it. It's about are you absorbing it? Are you absorbing Taylor Frankie Paul?
I got to tell you, I had to hostage watch. What is the one about the nerds?
Revenge of the Nerds?
No, the silly TV show with the blonde gal and the guy from Roseanne.
Oh, Third Rock. What's the stupid one?
Third Eye Blind.
Yeah, Third Eye Blind. The band Third Eye Blind.
Big Bang Theory?
Big Bang Theory.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
I absorbed maybe 10%.
Okay, but you watched it.
Maybe 10%.
You know who Sheldon
I don't know
is.
Sheldon's maybe the only character I could tell you their name.
Yeah.
And there's like a Carl in there or a Derek or something.
I never saw it either. But I was aware of it because it's just a part of the cultural zeitgeist. The same way our ladies on Secret Lives are.
I would bet not very many people know who that gal is.
Taylor?
Uh-huh.
I think everyone knows who Taylor is. She's crossed over. She's made the jump. This has all been bizarre for her, but truthfully, unfortunately, probably good for her. Her fame.
Her Page 6 fame, yeah.
Yeah.
How many people know what Page 6 is?
People know about
I do.
her.
I'm going to go there now.
Well, I couldn't tell you any of the other stars from Secret Lives names.
Let's see.
But I know Taylor.
Oh, you know what the lead story is? Frenemies. Jenny Garth details mysterious falling out with 90210 co-star Tiffany Thiessen. Click.
Read that.
Click. I'll go ahead and fill everyone in on that a little bit later on in the show. Ben, in the time we have left here in this first segment, I suppose, do you have any thoughts, or you were able to digest what is now locker room clean out, kinda? But anyway, all the finality of the final interviews. Do you have any hot takes you're bringing to the table after listening to it all?
My story I wrote last night, going back and re-listening to Will Hardy and Austin Ainge, who I was talking to both yesterday in their press conferences, was, a little surprised, I guess, in their desire to tamp down expectations next year. Now, I understand why. Why paint yourself in a corner of saying we got to make the playoffs or it's bust, and then fans are going to hold you to that. And the West is tough, and you are relying on a bunch of intangibles still, or at least unknowables. We don't know what Ace Bailey's second year is going to look like. Keontae George has been on the floor with Jaren Jackson Jr. for all of 9 minutes in his career. You're expecting some young players to take a step up. You're assuming Walker Kessler's going to be back on the roster. You're assuming health. And then the West is really difficult. You know, the West, and we make fun of kind of the mid-level of the NBA and how many games you should just be able to pick up by trying hard. You needed 49 wins to guarantee yourself the 6th seed, which is the only way to guarantee yourself a playoff spot now. 49 wins is a lot. That's 27 more than the Jazz got this year. Now, as you and I both said, there's at least 16 to 18 games the Jazz just left on the table. So now you're actually trying to close from 40 wins to 9 more wins, which I think the Jazz probably can do, and I think they can pick off some of these teams. But, yeah, as far as resetting the expectations for next year, I think there's an assumption it's the playoffs. That's kind of what I would hold the bar for the Jazz to. But I guess their desire to not put that out there yet should maybe adjust some expectations for fans.
Yeah, I mean, who was the player? Was it Jaren Jackson yesterday?
Yeah.
That said
100%.
Next stop playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more the reality. I understand. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. I get it. You want to set a low bar so you can jump over it. I play it down. We haven't seen anything yet. But after 4 years in the desert, you know, when you get to the oasis, you want to drink.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think they have enough talent on the team to expect that. I don't think that's unfair. I don't think fans are going to set low expectations for the team regardless. So, you know, they can try and slow the flow, but they've been buying tickets to see a team rebuilding for a while, and I emphasize the buying tickets part because the building has stayed relatively full.
Yep.
So buying tickets for a while now, you know, still dropping in on Bowler and Thurl and Locke and Booner for a while now, not watching or listening to competitive basketball. People are ready to go. And I've always said this, basketball fans in this town are smart. And they know roster construction, and they can spot basketball talent, and they can see it. And having 2 former All-Stars, an up-and-coming point guard, a top 5 draft pick, and a center that the last time we saw him was showing a mild amount of offense improvement, but was one of the league's best rebounders and rim defenders. I mean, why not? Why not hold that team to high expectations? They should.
Somewhat ironically, the Houston Rockets over their tank, their 3-year span, they went 17-55, which was the Jazz's record 2 seasons ago. They went 20-62, so they had a slower ramp up. Then they went 22-60, which was the Jazz's exact record this year. And then their next year, they went out and got some veterans. They got Fred VanVleet, they got Dylan Brooks, and they went 41-41. So they jumped from 22 to 41. They narrowly missed the playoffs. I think they were in the play-in tournament. They may have thrown the season down the stretch to avoid the play-in tournament. I can't remember exactly. And then the next year, they lost in the conference final, or in the first round, that was last year, they won 52 games. So they went from 22 to 41 to 52 over a 2 or 3 year span, depending on how you want to look at it. The Jazz would be entering that first year where they just missed the playoffs at 41-41. I do think the Jazz are making bigger improvements to their roster than the Rockets did by adding Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. So you can make a 20-win jump. Somewhat realistically, Detroit did the same thing.
So Houston added veterans too early, and the veterans weren't good enough. And Houston's going nowhere. So I don't like the comparison to Houston because they've made some bad decisions. They failed on Jalen Green, and then they traded him for Kevin Durant. I don't think it's going to work. That doesn't scratch where they itch. Kevin Durant's criticism of Şengün, now while I'm on Team Şengün, his criticism about Şengün was not wrong. The team's best player doesn't play any defense and is not a great shooter. That is not incorrect. So I don't know. Houston didn't add Jaren Jackson. I love Fred VanVleet too. And I don't really love Dylan Brooks, and I do think he's kind of overrated, but good on him. He seems to win some games wherever he goes. They're not in the same stratosphere as Jaren Jackson Jr. Not on this, and on top of that, Jalen Green, the other player they were gonna, is not Lauri Markkanen, in my opinion. Maybe that's a bad comparison. Maybe we should compare Lauri to Şengün. But anyway, I don't know if Houston's going anywhere. I don't know if that's a great comparison or a slow build or whatever. The Jazz have more talent than that.
The Detroit Pistons won 14 games in 2023-24, added Tobias Harris, added Paul Reed, added somebody else. I couldn't tell you who all it is. And they went from 14 wins to 44 wins. My point being, with Houston and Detroit, is you can add 20 wins. This doesn't have to be in an offseason. To your point of, did the Jazz just leave 16 or 18 wins on the board this year? Probably. So if you just win those, how many more can you add on top of that? Houston showed maybe you can add 10 more on top of that. Or, excuse me, Detroit showed that. Houston maybe was able to add 3 or 4 more. The Jazz are hoping to add. Truthfully, the Jazz are hoping to add 30 more wins. You know, the Jazz would love to be at 50, 52 next year. And if you do that, you are in that 4-5 matchup, which I think should be the goal.
I agree.
So it's not out of the realm of possibilities to do in a single offseason anymore. And I do think that used to be much harder to do in the NBA.
You think Patrick Kinahan has any idea who Taylor Frankie Paul is?
Yeah. PK's with it. He's on the internet.
Not a chance.
PK's on the internet.
Not a chance that dude knows who that is. David James knows who Taylor Frankie Paul is?
Yes, DJ knows who
No,
TFP is.
come on.
Locally,
Come
yes.
on.
Locally, yes.
Come
People in
on.
Utah know who Taylor Frankie Paul is.
Stay tuned. Top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. 2 things real quick. One, this song now makes me think of
Jordan Clarkson?
Despicable Me.
Oh.
And that is what they do now, the hook in kids' movies, is to sprinkle in a little nostalgia for the parents. But then it kind of takes over, which is annoying.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking about the Minions,
Okay.
which is hilarious. And 2, the Jenny Garth story was nothing. She doesn't even give the juicy details on why their relationship. She just said some friends are for seasons and reasons or something stupid.
Nobody knows who that is. But good news, Taylor Frankie Paul did win a bitter legal battle over her ex-boyfriend, Dakota. She's got a restraining order.
Don't they both?
Probably.
Poor kids.
Yeah, poor kids.
Time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Sean, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, NBA play-in tournament starts tonight.
We'll see how this run goes. We've got the Heat taking on the Hornets. Hornets were kind of this great story all year, and maybe they can get past this play-in tournament stretch. They're going to get absolutely washed by the Detroit Pistons in the first round, and that kind of conversation of how fun this was is going to disappear very quickly. And then the night game is the Trailblazers versus the Suns. Trailblazers, if they make the playoffs, lose their draft pick. If they miss the playoffs, they keep their draft pick. And I'm curious if that will have any motivation on their
All
decisions.
4 of these teams should tank. All 4. Have we seen availability? All 4 of these teams should be fielding G League squads.
I don't know if the Suns own their own pick. My suspicion is the Suns don't.
Well, according to their bozo owner, they don't.
They don't need the
they
picks.
They don't dabble in such things. Is this Adam Silver's Super Bowl tonight?
It's his crown jewel. It's certainly his crowning achievement.
This and the night in the fall in Vegas, right?
Sure.
I mean, they're really his times to shine.
Yeah.
So I hope he's there in Charlotte or Phoenix.
He better be front and center.
I would think so. I would guess the Hornets have been playing better. I would think they win. And then, why would the Blazers want to win? Suns probably win tonight, too.
Blazers have been weirdly feisty all season long. Credit them for that. I like that teams, the Kings, you can make fun of them, and I make fun of them all the time. I like that they won whatever it was, 8 of 19 down the stretch or whatever it was, and it wasn't good for them, and now they're tied with the Jazz in the standings, and we're talking about, again, fractions of a percentage point, and they don't have any chance of losing their pick, so why not? But I don't mind teams that just say, we're going to go play. We're just going to go out there and try and win.
No, I like it, too. I do. It gives me nostalgia. But why is Portland able to do that? Because they're a rudderless ship.
Yeah.
Their coach got arrested off the sidelines before the season. What, in the preseason? The team has been sold. Nobody knows who's going to be there or not be there. If there were competent leadership at the moment that knew what they were doing, Portland would be instructed to lose this game like they would have been instructed to lose for the last 2 months. But, yeah, I mean, if you want to look at a cute, plucky storyline.
But this is the whole problem with the NBA, which is that's really cool for Portland that they decided to go 42-40 this year.
But they're going nowhere.
And it doesn't help them in the slightest.
Nope.
In fact, it's going to hurt them now. Now, don't trade your draft picks or whatever, and that's part of it. And we've got Dame coming back next year. We'll see how that goes. I'm not super confident that that's going to be anything positive. But
I point that out because that's the flaw.
yeah, that's the flaw of the system.
That's the flaw.
Is that there's no teams more punished than everybody right now in the play-in tournament.
By doing well, by playing hard,
Yeah.
by punching above their weight, Portland is doing itself a disservice.
And by the way, this is not particularly new. It's more exacerbated today and exaggerated than it ever has been. But I was young. You might have been working in the business at the time. You know, the Jazz go 42-40, ironically the exact same record as the Portland Trail Blazers in the first non-Carl John year, and they miss out on a chance to go draft Dwight Howard. Well, where would the Jazz have been better? Now, they got Carlos Boozer, they got Darren Williams a couple years later. That ended up working out okay. But you would have been better off having Dwight Howard and tanking if you could have gotten the number 1 overall pick. It would have been more beneficial that year to be terrible versus drafting Kirk Snyder and Bowflex. Chris Humphries.
Bowflex, that's funny. That was
That's what Jerry
my
called him.
that was my first year interning, and I remember that because why was the roster so crappy going into that year? Do you remember?
Why?
It was because
yeah,
the
yeah.
Jazz missed on signing 2 restricted free agents. One is current assistant head coach Jason Terry.
Yeah.
And the other is Corey Maggette, who knows what he's doing right now. But I do remember, and this is why
He's also an assistant.
I kind of think fondly of the Jet, Jason Terry, and this is throwback radio producing days. But we did not have the Jazz rights at the time.
Oh, really?
Going way back, we were not the Jazz station. And this happened, and there was a race to see who could get Jason Terry on the radio. And this was before teams were so safeguarded about contacting players. Does that make any sense? Like there was actually a scramble. Like, does anybody know anybody related to Jason Terry?
Yeah.
And we won. I can't remember how we did it,
Oh, that's very cool.
but we got him on the phone, which is awesome. Shout out to Jason Terry, who doesn't remember that in the slightest, but it was a big deal to me. Oh, yeah, and then some bozo in Seattle was writing that the Jazz were going to win like 7 games or something like that all year, and then they overachieved. And was it in their best interest? Probably not.
And you know what? To their point, it's a lot of Jazz fans who are probably my age or a little bit older. A lot of people, that's the favorite season they've ever watched.
Old Keon Clark was out there dominating. What's his name? Raul Lopez had his 1 season, basically, in a Jazz uniform.
Yep.
Carlos Arroyo earned himself a contract.
Yes, he did.
Andre Karolinko earned himself a max deal.
Raja Bell turned himself into a real NBA player.
So, yeah.
So,
I do
credit those
remember
teams,
that,
but
though.
yes, it does not help you at all. Hornets, I guess, would be the most fun team. They're by far the most fun team that are in the play-in tournament. Tonight's games, as we mentioned, Heat, Hornets, Trailblazers, Suns. Tomorrow is Magic, 76ers, and the other ones are Warriors, Clippers. It really is a who's who of the most disappointing teams in the NBA outside of the Hornets, and I guess maybe the Suns, maybe the Trailblazers, because there's just like some scrappiness. And the Suns, a lot of people thought they were going to fall to the bottom because they traded Kevin Durant. But, man, this is not a good spot to be. Play-in tournament is an ultimate list of where you don't want to be in the NBA.
Hold on. I want to see how far LaMelo's usage dropped. Oh, not as far as I would have thought.
He's been good this year. LaMelo's been good.
He's down from a league high 35.9 down to 32, which is still a high number, but that is a pretty significant drop in that number.
It is. But their big issue is, or their big positive has been, Con Knippel's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. Maybe not, but he should. And then Brandon Miller has taken a huge step forward. He's turned into a good player.
LaMelo still has the highest usage on the team.
Yeah.
Brandon Miller is at 28.
Also high.
Also high.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Number 2. Utah Mammoth try to get back on track tonight at home against the Jets.
After losing back-to-back games, the Mammoth can still clinch, according to our own Cole Bagley, our Utah Mammoth Insider. Here are the scenarios for tonight's game if the Mammoth want to clinch. They can clinch the top wild card spot tonight. Remember, they're already in the playoffs. If they earn a point against the Jets, meaning just get this game to overtime, and the Canucks, who are not good, beat the Kings, or, that has to be in regulation, or Utah beats Winnipeg in any fashion, and either the Wild defeat the Ducks in regulation or Vancouver defeats LA in any fashion. So still very heavily favored that they clinch, but I will say, you look now and the Kings are just 1 point behind them in the standings. So it does feel like they're nipping at their heels and there's only 2 games left for everybody.
Probably better for the Mammoth if they lock it up sooner rather than later.
Yeah, do
Although
that early.
with 2 games to go, to your point, they haven't played their best hockey over the last 2 games. You got to bounce back. I think last time we were talking to Cole, I asked him if they were playing their best hockey, and his answer was yes. Maybe that was Nick, one of the two.
Yeah.
And I agreed with him at the time. How things can change over a couple of games, so you got to steady the ship, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And look, that also applies for the Kings, who, like the Mammoth, are on a 5-game winning streak. Mammoth won 5 straight, including that road trip, and kind of pulled away from everybody, and now the Kings have caught up. But we do know that these are the 8 teams that have made it in the Western Conference. Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, Vegas, Edmonton, Anaheim, Utah, and the Kings. Everybody else has been eliminated. So those are the 8 teams that are going to be competing in the playoffs.
All right, what's next?
Number 3, the basketball transfer portal has been busy in Utah.
When everybody's leaving BYU and people are freaking out?
Yeah, and then, I think it has surprised a lot of people. Now, BYU also did get a commit yesterday from a forward, a wing coming in from Syracuse, who's a big shooter, Tyler Betsy, but doesn't have particularly gaudy stats. I do think, obviously, the big key for BYU is that Colin Chandler committed. We did not talk about that yesterday, and I think you're hoping he makes a Richie Saunders-like jump from year 2 to year 3, because his sophomore season numbers are not particularly impressive, but he's got a lot of great tools, can shoot it, obviously a super athlete. So we'll see if he's able to make that jump.
I think the BYU basketball team this year underperformed.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question
and
about it.
I want to make it clear, though, that I'm not just talking about the tournament, because I think we get too gauged. That's how we gauge it, and that's not necessarily the entire story. And I don't think A.J. DeBonsa necessarily underperformed. So that, you look at the next level, right? All right, why you had a top-end guy. Well, what was the deal? And depth was obviously an issue, and the injuries certainly did not help that. But I didn't love the way that they were constructed. I didn't love the take turns play down the stretch and just going to strict ISO. There were a lot of things about that roster, the way it was constructed, that I didn't think was it. I thought the roster was much better constructed the year before, and they had more success, and I would classify that team as an overachieving team, but they didn't have the top-end guy. So you thought, okay, combine the two with the top-end guy, and anyway, long story short, I don't think they hit 3 cherries on the slot machine as far as roster construction goes. So if some guys decide to leave, I don't think it's that big of a deal, and bring in other dudes, see if it's a better fit. They needed a wing who could shoot. Everybody needs a wing who can shoot, see where they go. Colin Chandler. Now, I think what's interesting about him is he's a home guy. He's a Utah guy.
Uh-huh.
Much easier to keep that guy, my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you believe the rumors out there, his wife wants to come home or something.
Whatever.
Life stuff that matters. He has a tie. He has incentive to stay. And I think BYU leaned too far out
Of that.
Okay. And too far into, let's bring in I hate the term mercenaries because it's what the sport is.
Yeah,
people take that as a negative thing, but lean toward people from the outside. And I think, and you and I have always had this discussion, the magic is finding the secret sauce.
Uh-huh.
The magic is finding the blend where you can get old and stay old and then add a top-end guy that supposedly takes you to the next level.
BYU.
I think reshuffling the deck is more than appropriate.
Yeah, and it's certainly not a cause for panic.
No. Well, they still have all the resources. They can still grab all these players they want. They got a transfer from Syracuse.
I guarantee you, Colin Chandler was not cheap.
Right.
They went out and got a guy, and they probably had to pay him very handsomely to come play at BYU.
And they'll have to pay him to stay,
suitors.
too.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's going to stay for free, but he has more of an incentive to stay than Rob Wright does.
Correct, and you might be able to see him through his junior year, which I do expect him to make a Richie Saunders-like leap, who, if I remember, Richie went from 9 points to 16 points, and I think if you look at Colin Chandler this year at Kentucky, he's probably right around 9 points. And he's going to have a huge role next year, and he and Bruce Branch III will probably kind of be the faces of the team. We'll see if Bruce is any good. There's no guarantee that a player coming in as a true freshman is ready to handle this level of basketball. But to your point, and I would compare it maybe to the Phoenix Suns, ironically, knowing where Kevin Young came from. But, they have all this superstar talent last year with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and no formation of a team. And that's a little bit of what BYU had this year. They had superstar talent in AJ and Robert Wright and Richie Saunders, but really their strengths didn't necessarily complement each other. So now next year, if Colin Chandler comes back and you get Bruce Branch III, maybe you go and get a 7-footer. Maybe you go find some guys that actually complement one another, and this system works a lot better. And I think that can be an improvement from what we saw last season, because you're right. It's not just that you lost to a bigger Texas team in the NCAA tournament. It's that you were, 10-10 in conference or whatever it was? I mean, they were pretty mediocre. I mean, by definition, mediocre. They were a 500 team.
And weren't on a great run even before Richie got hurt.
Right. So I think they can certainly be better next year, even if they are less talented. And I do expect them to be less talented next season.
I think they need to be way dirtier. They need to find the dirtiest players they can. I think that about every program, though.
All right.
You have to have at least 3 dirty players on the floor at the same time.
I don't disagree with you. I actually do think you need some bad dudes. Utah also got its first, I believe, commit.
Call it an edge, a player with an edge. I love the,
Sure.
What do they call that, superlatives for dirty player?
Yeah. Whatever you want to do to put lipstick on the pig.
He's got a hard nose.
Yeah.
Savvy.
He's a winner.
Yeah, how has Kelly Olynyk been described throughout his career? Oh, savvy player.
The Utes got Jackson Holcomb to commit. He's the guard and a pretty big transfer coming out of, what was it, not USU, UVU. So good for Alex Jensen.
Yeah, I'll save my good for Alex Jensen when they're at the upper part of the bottom half of the league.
Yeah, win 18 games. Not in league, total. You won 10 last year.
Oh, move it up to 14.
Sure. Go in the right direction.
All right, stay tuned. We'll have more Jake and Ben coming up next. Cole Bagley is going to join the show at 11:30, so we will talk more hockey coming up. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're teaming up with Beehive Meals, honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at kslsports.com/contests. Then listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Ben, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I am fascinated with crash outs, and I'm not meaning to be political, although this has to do with politics. The crash out of this Eric Swalwell guy is really something. And I just saw an article about all the A-list celebrities that contributed to his campaign and endorsed him. And I just got to say, in this job, we come in contact with a lot of different people out there. And who knows what anybody is up to. But I hope everybody... I hope I'm never in the position where I have to retract an endorsement. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Oh, I was totally wrong about that, dude. You know what?
Money.
We met him.
Sorry, Sean Penn.
I didn't know him that well, and I wasn't into the other candidates. He seemed like the best. Anyway, my next film.
We've had a little bit of that locally.
Because I actually don't blame somebody that endorses a candidate or gets politically active, and then somebody turns out to have a pretty wacky personal life that is, well, I shouldn't say wacky, like horribly dark personal life.
Yeah, right.
I don't think Sean Penn knew. Maybe Bob De Niro.
John Hamm?
I don't think John Hamm knew.
Yeah, I mean, remember people were up in arms that Quinn Snyder donated $500. I think $1,000 total to Burgess Owens. It's like, first of all, you have to understand how little money that is. Second of all, Burgess Owens has never done anything remotely close to what Swalwell's being accused of.
No, but we talked about Sharon Moore, and then he went to bed, one night as the head coach at Michigan with an intact, supportive family, and then by the time his head hit the pillow the next night, he was in jail, right?
Yeah.
He was no longer the Michigan coach and incarcerated. This congressman went to bed running for governor, and as a congressman, and what is it, a short 3 days later, he's like, No job, not a congressman, not running for governor.
Right. A couple of staffers quit as the first leak, and then the dam has collapsed within 72 hours. Yes. Now you're probably facing, it sounds like, prison.
The amount of time
Correct.
where that crumbled
Front
is
runner for governor.
remarkably fast.
Hanging out with Sean Penn.
To
Now I'm hanging out with Sean Penn in jail.
his weirdo billionaire friend that was his landlord kicked him out.
It's tough. I hope I don't crash out. Do we have a person in sports most likely to crash out next? Is there somebody who's right on the
Besides Sean?
our producer Sean?
Yeah.
Our current producer Sean.
Kidding.
Christian's coming back.
Kidding about that.
we love
We
having
probably
Sean here.
shouldn't even talk about this guy's
Well,
life.
okay, I'm not talking about this level or even Sharon Moore. I am looking at maybe we need to save this for another segment, but who's teetering right now in the NBA that their playoffs are going to change kind of the way we view them. And there are players. I actually think Rudy Gobert is in a really interesting spot.
In a positive or negative way on the floor, not like...
Yeah, and not to do the
not,
who's got to win the Super Bowl for their legacy. Not that sports talk conversation, but I wonder if this is Rudy's last stand.
what is Rudy's legacy currently?
Rudy is still, I think, viewed as one of the better centers, not elite centers in the NBA anymore, but better centers. I think there's a chance that he gets washed a little bit by Jokic, who has been coasting through the season, though Jokic did just become the first player ever to lead the league
but
in
what's
rebounds and assists.
what's his current legacy? Not what is he going to do in the playoffs? How is he currently viewed by the NBA
Yeah, upper level center.
universe?
Respected upper level center. And I wonder if he falls back to I wonder if he earns a legacy next year as one of the most overpaid players in the NBA, depending on what happens in this playoff series.
He will go down in history as one of the most overrated players in history. He could win it this year, and he's still going down as that.
I don't think that's his legacy. I don't think his day-to-day legacy right now is actually all that negative. I think people like Rudy right now, or are somewhat.
People don't
warm
care
to
about
him.
Rudy.
They
right
don't.
now.
You're right. But if he goes out on the national stage and gets run off the court by Jokic, which Jokic is going to average a 30-point triple-double in this series against the Timberwolves, we are going to veer back towards how quickly can the Timberwolves get Rudy off this team because he's ruining their roster. I think we're going to get there, and I don't think that is actually his legacy today, but 2 weeks from now, that will be what people are saying about
Rudy is the fourth, maybe fifth most relevant player on Minnesota. He will neither get credit nor blame if they win, which is...
Oh, I think people can't wait to blame him.
Listen, people, the reason he was even relevant in Utah was because he was getting so much coverage for doing something that you don't traditionally get coverage for. It's the reason Shaq was jealous, because he got a max contract, even though he's not remotely an offensive player. The NBA universe thought that was wrong. Draymond Green clowned him because they don't think he's very good. He didn't really do anything in Utah. So I think a lot of people feel vindicated either way because Rudy is no longer he's where he belongs. As the fourth or fifth most relevant guy. He's not making all-star teams.
Right.
He's barely making any waves with Defensive Player of the Year,
Yeah,
which
he's
I
not going to
actually
this year.
think
He's still probably the third best defensive player in the league.
Votes.
Yeah, he's still probably the third best defender in the NBA.
But he's been relegated to where people thought he belonged in the first place as I'm not trying to really clown anybody, but DeAndre Jordan type figure, where you're a starter on a good team and you can play defense and do the dirty work, but you're not being crowned as some star.
See, and I think that's actually where he is today. And I think 2 weeks from now, he's not going to be there anymore. I think people are going to try and knock him down a peg because they're going to say, people are going to go back to Basketball Reference and say, how much is Rudy Gobert making if Jokic just put up this historic playoff series on him? And they're going to say, $30 million, or what? I'll pull it up right now. I'll do exactly what I'm saying, or accusing people of doing, and say, wow, he's the reason why they can't get further. In fact, they will be viewed as having taken a step back because they made the conference finals each of the last 2 years, and I think they're about to get bounced in the first round.
Except for nobody blames Andre Karolinko for being the shortcoming.
You do.
I do, and I'm the only one. Everybody else loves the guy. Everybody else thinks AK could do no wrong.
Rudy makes
because he was the fourth most relevant player on the team. Nobody blames the fourth most relevant player on the team
except you,
except me. And that wasn't even all that much about his play on the floor. It was about how much he was compensated for his play on the floor.
That's exactly where Rudy is. And maybe to your point, if everyone adopts the Andre Kirilenko perspective of Rudy, you're right. I don't think anyone has viewed Rudy that generously outside of Utah ever. And even now, as we've gotten some distance from him, I think some fans have turned their back on him a little bit. But Rudy makes $36.5 next year, which actually is not that much money.
That's what I'm saying. He redid his deal.
And then he'll have a player option of $38 million after that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going to be so overpriced that they can't afford anybody, and they're not in the luxury tax in the next couple of years. Their financials are okay.
No, Rudy made a smart deal because he took the years and lowered his price tag.
Yeah. So he's going to be paid a lot for a long time, but not so much that I guess you're going to say, wow, he's the 10th highest paid player in the NBA, which for a while he was in that conversation. So
nobody here called Mike Conley overpaid, even though he was.
He was, yeah. Okay, whose legacy is more on the line? We can talk about this if you want. Rudy or Donovan in this playoff series?
Donovan by a mile. Because Donovan is the most relevant person on his team. Again, Rudy's fourth probably. Think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Fifth? Not fifth. I would say fourth. They don't have a point guard.
Right.
Which is kind of where he belongs. Donovan actually belongs at second or third most relevant player on his team.
He might be an All-NBA first-team member this year.
But he has put himself at first, and I don't think he's good enough to be that.
Agreed.
And at some point, you have to prove that your team can win if you're the best player on it.
Yeah, he's good. He's really, really, really quickly approaching, if not already there, the Tracy McGrady conversation of can't get to the conference finals. You know, good player, all-star, future Hall of Famer, can't win when it matters. Doesn't beat good teams. Certainly never beats teams better than his.
Stay tuned. We will have more coming up next. Ben's throwing a, what do we call these games? Play-in games?
Party.
You're going to have a party tonight? Big watch party?
Yeah.
Sean going to go?
Sean's there. Everyone's there. All the who's who, including Sean.
Except for Salzar, right?
Yeah, Lloyd can't come.
Okay.
He's busy.
We'll get to more coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Scotty G coming up tomorrow from noon to 3 at Bar W Beef, the pop-up event at the Cal Ranch Store, 950 North Main Street in Spanish Fort. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be in a hurry to go on a cruise again.
According to Sean, you should get out there more often.
Sean was telling us about his cruise experience.
You sound like you had a great time.
I did a Disney cruise, Sean, so I did not.
You don't think that happens there?
No.
Okay.
Maybe?
Who knows?
That would be weird. Yeah. Very weird.
Anyways.
All right, Ben, who has something on the line in the Western Conference? We talked about the guys with the local ties with Donovan and Rudy and what they have on the line in the playoffs. Shouldn't Nikola Jokic have way more on the line? I mean, he's got the one-off title. People are talking about him as, the greatest modern player, or whatever you want to say, and he's my guy Tim Lacomb's favorite player in the NBA to watch. I get it; he's unique, but doesn't he have to get back and do it again if we're going to talk about him like that?
Yeah, there are the number of guys who have.
You can play it
Like that?
The number of guys who are 3-time MVPs who only have one title, it's like nobody. To get big picture legacy resume conversation, 3 MVPs is Bird, it's Magic, it's Michael. Those guys all have a lot. There are the Karl Malones of the world who have 2 and don't have a title, and there are a few players of that ilk.
Barkley.
But yes, did Barkley have 2 MVPs?
Mm-hmm.
Does he? Mm-hmm. They only had 1, but neither here
I
nor
thought
there.
it was both.
Who
with
cares?
Phoenix.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. But 3 MVPs is kind of a different level. It is actually kind of a separator when it comes to the NBA if we care about that stuff. I wonder, just for the Nuggets' sake, if we're just a year early on them.
You were right, 1.
If we're too early on the Nuggets, that they needed a whole year to kind of figure this thing out, which is Jokic, Gordon, Murray, which has been their big 3, and then they've mixed in some players like Christian Brown and Peyton Watson and Cam Johnson, who have now come in. And I wonder if now next year this all settles and they have some continuity and they're much better. So I guess I'm giving them a little bit more breathing room
I don't know if I'm going to give him the LeBron treatment. I don't think so. His team isn't good enough thing.
Jokic?
Yeah.
This team is good enough. No question about it.
Yeah. I mean, that you talk about that big three. I'd more look at it as a big two with Jamal and Jokic. And then if you want to throw in the third, maybe the best role player in the league. One of the
By
best,
far the best role player in the league. Yeah.
Maybe, as far as defense and playing a role offensively that doesn't take a bite out of either one of your other two stars. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Christian Brown is a good,
No, they've got a really good team. This is probably his most talented team. Jokic's most talented team.
If, that should be on him if they don't win.
I totally agree. I'm not letting them off the hook. I just don't think their window closes. I am curious.
No, I don't either. But you said maybe it was a year or two early or whatever. If this dude is really in the Bird category,
yeah, win.
You got to do
chance.
it. And you can look at Oklahoma City and go, well, they're awesome. Well, yeah, Bird had to play against other awesome teams too. I mean, it's how
right had to beat Michael, had to beat the Pistons, had to beat had
to beat
go
the
beat
Lakers.
Magic.
Yeah.
So no, you're totally right. You're not wrong on that front at all. The Thunder probably face a little more urgency than maybe we've given them credit for or kind of accepted, which is you just get really expensive really quickly and you start to lose guys. And already this offseason, they're going to start having to pick between a couple of players and who they want to bring back. And if Hartenstein's going to be a part of this roster going forward, they have gotten some good deals on some players, but he's making 28 or something next year, over 20. And I think it's a team option. And Lou Dort's in that same conversation. I think he's right around 20 and has a team option. And at some point you start, and this happens to every championship team now in the modern NBA, you start asking more of fewer guys because you get so expensive. And then this is a little bit of what happened with the Nuggets. They won their title and they started to say, well, I guess we'll let Kentavious Caldwell-Pope go sign in Orlando, or we'll let, I can't remember, Bruce Brown go sign with the Pacers, and we'll hope that we can stay afloat by asking more of fewer.
Yeah, and Harry Barnes had to go to Dallas. Yeah. Cry me a river,
No, I'm not. No, I'm not feeling bad for anybody. I'm certainly not feeling bad for the Thunder, but that comes for everybody, and that will come for the Thunder as well. So while we're looking at this quote unquote, potential dynasty, they have one title, and if they don't win it this year, it's a big chunk forward. It's a big step forward. I mean, I do think these windows are probably 4 years now versus 6 or 7 years. So you miss a year if you don't win a title, and I do think the Thunder are the overwhelming favorites, especially because they got an extraordinarily fortunate draw in the bracket, because if they beat and will beat whoever comes out of this, whoever ends up with the 8th seed, they're going to crush them. Then they're going to absolutely demolish either the Lakers or Rockets, who one of those teams has to accidentally get through to the second round. Probably the Rockets, who were the team everybody was angling for to play in the first round of the playoffs. So they're going to coast into the conference finals playing likely a battered Nuggets or Spurs team, which I think is a series that's going to go at least 6 and probably 7.
All right, here's you're right about Oklahoma City's salary situation. Not to go backwards in the combo.
No, happy
forgive
to.
me. Because it is a pretty fascinating one. Okay, so they've got 6 team options next year.
Okay, it's a lot.
So if you include everybody, and let's say they pick all of it up, their payroll would be $250.5 million.
It's not a joke. They get expensive,
which is wild,
insanely quickly.
Well, actually, next year might be their bargain year, and I'll explain that in a second.
Okay.
So they've got, if you count up roughly, because don't do math on the air, but this is right around where it's at. If you count up the non-guaranteed deals from those 7 players, we're talking about roughly $70 million. So all of a sudden they go down, if they pull the Danny Ainge and just heartlessly cut everybody, they're down to around 130.
Which is great.
Which is absolutely
under the
great.
cap, yeah.
Now here are those 7 players, and this is the tough stuff that you have to do, to your point, to continue playing at a high level. You have to make the right decisions. We talk about it all the time. Hartenstein, who you mentioned, has a player option for $28.5 next year. Lou Dort, maybe my favorite player in the league, 18.2 team option. Did I say player on Hartenstein?
Both team options.
Both team. These are all team options.
Okay.
Kenrick Williams, 7.1. Kaysen Wallace, 7.4. What's his name? Nikola Jokic. He's at 5.4. And then one more, Jared McCain at $4 million. And some of this is in the rookie process, right? So it's a little bit more complex.
Jokic, McCain, and Kaysen Wallace are all on rookie deals still.
So I wonder what is the market for Lou Dort? Hartenstein I let go, even though I love Hartenstein.
Well, like
You can find a big.
Well, isn't Lou Dort exactly who the Utah Jazz need to be chasing?
Lou Dort is exactly who everybody should
Correct.
be chasing.
Championship experience, hard nose. We just talked about how BYU needs to add some bad dudes on their roster. Lou Dort's a bad dude. The Jazz need that as well. $18 million is a real discount for him, so they should pick him up because $18 million is cheap. But again, we're already eating into this potential salary, and then he's unrestricted after that, and then you can't afford to pay him because do you have it stretched out to 20, 27, 28?
Yep. Let's see, 20. So this is what I'm saying, that next year might be their bargain year because Shea's Supermax kicks in 27, 28.
How big's the raise?
Shea gets a $20 million raise, and it's not like he is making nothing in 26, 27. He's making $40.1 million, or it's 40.8, nearly $41 million, right. And that jumps to $61 million in 27, 28. They have Chet Holmgren on a max rookie extension, and they've got him all the way out till 30-31. So
okay.
Chet took the long one. In 27, 28, so 2 years from now, he's going to be making 44.8. Man, they've got Caruso on the books for a long time. That's rough. He makes $21 million in 27, 28. And Jalen Williams, who also goes on a max rookie extension, he's at 44.8 in 27, 28.
So between those guys alone, you said Caruso's making 20?
Yeah.
You've got the other guys on rookie maxes, so that's what, 45?
Yep.
So Jalen Williams and Chet, who are both worth the money. It's a discount. $45 million for those players is a discount, but that's $90 million. And then Caruso is at 20, so you're at $110 million. And then Shea's making $60 million. You're at $170 million. That's the cap. Now you can go up to $200 before I think you get to the luxury tax, and then you get into the aprons, et cetera, et cetera. But we named 5 players. They're at $170 million with 5 players.
Now, 3 of those players are their most important players.
No, that's great. You've got your key players locked in.
Actually,
but so do the Nuggets with Jokic, with Aaron Gordon, and with Jamal Murray. But they eat up so much of the cap that you start asking those guys, which is where this conversation started, to do more. You're asking fewer guys to do more. And you actually, because of the tax aprons now, don't even have the ability, outside of signing your guys who you have their draft rights or bird rights, like Case and Wallace, who they're just going to have to sign just to keep him around. And he's going to get a lot of money because his agent's not stupid. He's not going to say, well, that's really cool. We like that you bring him off the bench, and it's really nice. And he's obviously the future replacement for Case or for Lou Dort. Like, it just is going to naturally flow into that state. But you're at $200 million with 6 guys on your roster, and you can't actually go out and sign any more free agents. You can't go get these other guys. So this window ends quickly. I mean, we're talking 2 years from now.
Oklahoma City has the luxury of having a lot of draft picks, and you and I both have talked over the years. I wonder why they're not spending those.
Yeah.
Because they're cheap contracts that you can, in theory, add talented players. But they're going to have to make some tough decisions. Yeah, I don't think Lou Dort is on this team 2 years from now.
Yeah, and maybe not next year.
And
then you are hoping, and this is where there's been some other issues here, and this kind of started to crumble behind the scenes a little bit. Nikola Jokic famously has had cancer, and he was supposed to be a top 5 pick 2 years ago and ended up falling past Cody Williams in the lottery because he blew up his knee, and then he had that. They had another lottery pick last year in Thomas Sorber, who broke his foot before this season. He was supposed to be getting a bunch of experience this year. Not having those guys, I mean, Topic has barely played now in the NBA. Sorber has not yet played in the NBA. They were supposed to be getting real NBA experience, so when Hartenstein leaves or when Lou Dort leaves or whoever leaves the roster, these rookie contracts, these guys are in their second and third seasons and have played a lot and are ready to step up and go and fill those spots. They just haven't played. Mm-hmm. So next year or 2 years from now, they need to make a major jump, and it's like they're probably not ready to make a jump. And then your title hopes hinge on rookies making jumps. It's like, it's a bad design, actually.
It's what Denver went through.
Yeah, exactly right.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
or whatever
it's the flawed design, hoping that Christian Brown was ready to play a bigger role or Peyton Watson was ready to play a bigger role. And they've gotten there now, but it wasn't last year. Mm-hmm. And because it wasn't last year, they had to go out and bring in other players. They had to go out and get a Cam Johnson or whatever. So that's the difficulty that NBA teams face. And look, that'll come for the Utah Jazz as well, but it's nice to have your own draft picks, and you hope that if you hit on a couple of them, they keep you afloat.
I know this is bold, but I think Oklahoma City should go into a rebuild next year.
Okay, just blow it up.
Blow it up? Move Shea?
Well, honestly, don't be surprised if you start hearing conversations in a couple of years about do they trade Chet or do they trade Jalen Williams to try and get a
Nope.
lot of younger pieces back?
They're not smart enough to do that. They will do what the Warriors did and fall in love with their guys and ride it out into a sunset of mediocrity.
That's generally what happens. You're right. And you know what? You were joking about Danny Ainge being heartless and being willing to do it. Loyalty does not serve you very well.
No, most teams aren't willing to do it.
Yep.
Most teams would have given Isaiah Thomas a max contract
Absolutely.
instead of shipping him to Cleveland for his career to die.
Good luck to you.
Good. Thanks for your service.
This is going to make things a lot better for us. Though,
You
over
were
here.
a great Celtic.
Yep.
We'll see you later. But no, most like, what's his name? Linda Rambis with the Lakers. He's going to give Kobe whatever he wants. Going to have some just dreadfully average to below average teams for a few years while he waves his cap in front of everybody's home crowd, and Gail gives him some skis, and then you can get back to running a franchise. It just doesn't make sense.
Right. Business-wise, it doesn't.
Who's that German guy who took over U.S. soccer for a hot minute? You remember Jurgen something?
Klinsmann.
He made some comments about Kobe once because he was the coach during simultaneously. He said the rest of the sports world doesn't reward old players with big contracts.
Yeah.
The rest of the sports world just pays you what you're worth at the moment, and then when you're done, you go play in Major League Soccer.
Danny Ainge wanted Larry Bird traded while they were teammates, right?
Which
For
is
exactly that reason.
Yeah.
That was exactly the take was, wow, Larry's back is gone. This guy can't move at all. He lays on the sidelines now. He can't even sit in a chair.
Move that guy
Probably a
before
guy
somebody
you
finds
should
out.
Get rid of.
Somebody's going to notice that this isn't Larry Legend anymore.
Yeah,
You should
correct.
really trade him before they notice.
Limpin' Larry.
Ennis Cantor is not an NBA player. We better move this guy before the rest of the world realizes it.
Generally behooves you.
Uh-huh.
So.
We want to remind you about Win Ticket Wednesday, which is coming up tomorrow. It's your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone. This week, a pair of Brit Floyd, which is a Pink Floyd tribute band. Tickets, there's June 6th show at 7:30 at Maverick Center. You can win tickets to that coming up tomorrow. Pink Floyd is kind of in my wheelhouse musically. I never got into them.
Okay.
You like Pink Floyd?
I like their songs. I'm with you. I'm not like super familiar with their catalog. I'm familiar with their category. I'm with you. They've always felt slightly, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a little gimmicky.
Yeah. Have you seen The Wall?
I have not seen
Not
The Wall.
heard it, but seen it.
I have not seen it. Not absorbed it. Really in any fashion entirely.
I just don't get it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I'll go to a museum and I'll look at something and I'll say, you know what? I just don't get it. The Wall, I just don't get it.
Okay.
It was like a hour and a half long bizarre music video.
Uh-huh. But again, to your point, where it's hard to go back and judge something culturally through, the lens of the future, I fully accept that that's probably true about Pink Floyd.
Is it Pink Floyd where you start one of their albums when the lion roars in the Wizard of Oz and it like goes along with it or something?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Do you know how weird and tripped out you'd have to be to just think of that concept? If that's true, just think of that as...
That's what happened. Some dude had it on and it playing his music and was like, this is syncing up weirdly well.
I can...
Accidentally. I don't think Pink Floyd did
You
that
don't
on
think
purpose.
they wrote it?
No. I think some stoner
Figured it out.
accidentally stumbled upon something, and the way rumors spread in schoolyards, it did.
Huh.
I don't think it's real.
I've never tried it. I don't know. All right, coming up next, Cole Bagley covers the Mammoth for KSLSports.com. He's going to jump on with us straight ahead, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, These guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to talk hockey with the Utah Mammoth and NHL Insider on KSLSports.com. Cole Bagley on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, Cole's visit on the show is brought to you by Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. He does cover the Mammoth for KSLSports.com. He's our friend Cole Bagley. What's going on, Cole?
How we doing, boys?
Doing well. Hey, Cole, can you diagnose, I guess, the health? And I don't mean actual health, the injury report. I mean, the team, they clinch a playoff berth, and then they've lost back-to-back games. Where are they in this playoff race, and are they still in an advantageous spot?
Yeah, I had some good conversations today with a couple of the veterans on the team, and I just straight up asked them. I said, you know, you guys win 5 in a row, you clinch a spot, and then you struggle the last 2 games. You know, how does that kind of happen? And, you know, kind of the overall theme and message was, look, you know, they're not making excuses, but it's like it's human nature, right? Like they win 5 straight, they're at the top of their game, but they exhausted themselves to do that. And then, you know, going into those next 2 after, you know, the job was technically done, they're towing the line, right? They're seeing, you know, hey, can I get away with this? Can I get away with that? Not quite at the top of their game, and you know, you do that too often in the National Hockey League, and you know, it's just so competitive, and there's so many good teams, and even at the end of the year, you know, if you look at a lot of the teams historically who, you know, are at the bottom of the league at the tail end of the season, and they have nothing to play for, well, they can rack up wins. You know, they can beat some of the top teams. I mean, Arizona did that year after year during, you know, the early stages of the rebuild, where, you know, they're out in February, March, you know, what have you, and then, you know, a team like Colorado or Edmonton comes to town and they ended up beating them because, you know, those teams had kind of exhausted themselves and were trying to kind of self-preserve. And so for Utah, you know, I don't think it's anything to worry about. You know, they're still in full control of their destiny. They can actually clinch the top wildcard spot tonight. They do need a little bit of help from some of the other teams, but they're still in full control. They're very confident, and you know, they're excited about what's ahead over these next couple weeks.
We've asked you something similar, but in the past. But how important is it for them to avoid the Avalanche in the first round?
Yeah, it's super important. You know, I think there's 2 teams that Utah really should do everything in their power to avoid, and you know, the second one's kind of out of their control. But you know, you do not want to face Colorado or Edmonton in the first round of the playoffs. You know, Colorado set some regular season records this season. You know, they're a juggernaut. They're definitely the best team in the National Hockey League. They're on pace to win the President's Trophy. It's just every single line is dangerous and can hurt you at any moment. You know, with the likes of, you know, McKinnon and Makar and Landeskog and Nichus, and you know, they added Nazem Kadri, you know, at the deadline. That's a really good team, and that's a team that should win the Stanley Cup. Not saying that they will, but that's a team that, you know, on paper, when you look at it, that's the team that should be hoisting Lord Stanley here in a couple months. So yeah, I do like the way that Utah matches up against Colorado, but you know, if you were to look at their potential matchups, you know, if they're able to draw Vegas or if they were able to draw Anaheim, those are series that they can win. Not to say that it's a guarantee or anything, but they can beat those teams. Whereas if they draw Colorado, I think at best Utah would win 2 games, and I'd probably say the same about Edmonton. You know, I'm never going to bet against Connor McDavid in the first round of the playoffs, and you know, same can be said about Nathan McKinnon. You know, just the way that those 2 are the best players in the world, and they just take their games to another level come playoff time.
Well, Vegas has played 81 games. Edmonton's played 81 games. They have 1 game left each. So Vegas Vegas is up 2 points. They just need 1 point, so get to overtime, and they clinch that top spot in the Pacific.
Yes, as long as Vegas just needs a single point, and they would clinch the top spot in the Pacific. Which again, that would be, you know, Utah would, best case scenario would be Anaheim, but I would put Vegas second on that list.
So looking at the Mammoth then and what they've got left in their next couple of games, Is Winnipeg playing for anything? Are any of these teams that they've got down the stretch still playing for anything?
No. The playoffs are set. All 16 teams that are going to compete for the Stanley Cup are in. The rest of the teams that still had a chance were all eliminated last night. So, if there's anything to play for, it's pride. There are some scenarios where teams are calling up some of their younger players, some of their prospects, and guys are vying for, new contracts or opportunities next season. And, that's what you got out of Calgary the other night. Their team, they had nothing to play for, but they had nothing to lose. And so, teams are still going to be competitive. There's no nights off. Even when a team's eliminated, they're still going to give you their best. And, we'll see who ends up in net tonight for Winnipeg. I believe they're on the second half of a back-to-back, so I'd be surprised if we saw Connor Hellebuck. But, it's still going to be a tough game, and, Utah needs to reassert themselves and get back to their winning ways, finish strong, right? They at this point, they can control their destiny. And, I think, even more importantly, they need to be in a groove stepping into that first round because, regardless of who they go up against, it's going to be a tall bill. And, if they want to make some noise and if they want to get to that second round, they're going to need to be at their best.
I think a lot of us are looking forward to our first NHL playoff experience here in town. So, Cole, if you would, describe how the gameplay changes in the playoffs, and also, if you would, how the Mammoth are equipped to deal with that change.
Yeah, I mean, everything is tenfold. It's 10 times faster. It's 10 times more physical. It's, every hit means more. Every goal is more deflating for the team that allows it. Mistakes are maximized. I mean, one mistake can lose you a series, and that's, as I've been, the last couple of days, I've just kind of taken the opportunity to talk with a lot of the veterans about how does the game change? Because, it's interesting because Ian Cole, who's, I think, got the most playoff experience in the room. He's won multiple Stanley Cups. He went to 14 straight playoff appearances. Last year was the first year he had missed in almost 2 decades, right? He said, look, it's the same game, but it's not. It's a little bit, it's obviously faster and everything that I described. And so I think for Utah, it's about just playing their game. I mean, recognizing that, hey, it's going to be more physical, so we've got to up the physicality. It's going to be faster, so we've got to up the speed, but not to the point of trying to be someone that they aren't. That was kind of the message from Nate Schmidt, who I was able to talk with today was, you need to up your game. You need to be better. You need to be more aware and play faster and better. But at the same time, just keep your identity. And I think for Utah, they're arguably one of the most dangerous opponents for any of these top seeds that doesn't feel like anybody's really talking about them. They've beaten some really good teams this year, and I think it's because their game is kind of set up to do so. I mean, if you don't bring your A game against the Mammoth, they're designed to take you off guard and to bury you. With their speed, they can fly past anybody. They can drown defenses. They can break them down. And when Utah is at their best, and we've talked about this before, is when they combine their speed and their finesse with physicality, when they're strong on the forecheck, when they're pinning teams in the defensive zone, and they're able to then create turnovers, reload, and then utilize their speed and finesse to break down defenses before they can even blink, that's when Utah is at their best. And so, we'll see. There's a lot of additional factors. There's obviously the mental factor, the maturity factor. I think that is what's going to ultimately determine Utah's success is, can they go into this and remain focused and maintain their identity while still raising their game to the next level. If so, I think there's a good chance that Utah could upset whoever they end up playing.
Do rotations shorten? Do we ever see the backup goaltender in a playoff game?
I'd be surprised if we saw much of Vanacek at all. It's tough. I think he's a good goaltender. I think he's got a very unique style, but it just hasn't been a good fit. The trust level obviously isn't there. I mean, he's just played so few games. He never got into a rhythm, and he's lost the majority of the games he's played. Now that's not all his fault. He obviously drew some difficult scheduling situations, and a lot of back halves of back-to-backs and, games where Utah kind of took the night off and let him out to dry. But, yeah, I wouldn't anticipate that we'll see much of him, if at all. I would expect that we will, see Vejmelka from here on out. We'll see how tonight's result goes. If they can clinch the top wild card spot, then maybe they give him the final game off and let Vanacek finish it out. But in the playoffs, I would expect to see Vejmelka. And then, I think we'll see how Utah plays it. There's definitely times where shifts are a little bit shorter. They're a little bit faster just to keep guys fresh. We'll see how Utah kind of approaches things because there's a lot of youth on this team. There's a lot of young guys that haven't been there before. And, maybe it would be good to, get them off the ice a little bit faster and shorten shifts. But, that's obviously up to the coach's discretion to decide if they want to use that approach or not.
How critical is the coach? How much can the coach really impact a series?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think adjustments are going to be a big deal. It's obviously the players have to play, but I think where the coach can have the greatest impact is, how can he inspire his guys? Coaching has obviously a huge impact in certain circumstances. I mean, there's been years where a coach has been fired, at the deadline or, earlier in the season, and a new guy comes in and they go and they win the Stanley Cup. I mean, that happened for the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2016. They fired their head coach, I believe, in January. Mike Sullivan came in and he won them two straight Stanley Cups. And so a lot of it can be about, their inspirations and then as well adjustments. How if a certain lineup isn't working, how is the coach going to make the changes? Is he going to make the right changes? What about the power play? If the power play isn't clicking, through the first two games in a series, does they need to make a change? So for a coach, I think it comes down to, inspiration and then proper adjustments if need be.
I don't know if you saw it last night. I don't know if it's just people talking on a podcast, but there was some conversation about Austin Matthews maybe being done in, Toronto, and potentially Utah being the top option for the trade pieces go. I'm not talking about that specifically, but what does making the playoffs this year mean for the offseason and kind of the trajectory of this team? Is it time to now go all in? Do you stick with this roster and say, okay, now they're just starting to kind of figure themselves out? How do you think making the postseason has changed that perspective?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for Utah, the way that they've found success, the way that they've emerged from the rebuild has been, by being patient. Not jumping, not trying to jump ahead of themselves, not trying to go all in on one particular player. And a lot of that is, just because of how hockey is. I think, the NBA and the NHL differ in a lot of ways. Hockey is just more of a team sport. Sure, there's definitely scenarios and there's times in the past where one player has made the difference. But for Utah and Bill Armstrong, I think the mentality is just to stick to the game plan, is to stick to the way that they've been building so far because it's worked. I mean, yeah, they've made fairly big acquisitions, right? Like they traded for Sergachev, they traded for JJ Peterka, but it wasn't these massive swings where you go all in. And for Utah, I don't think that they've reached that point yet. Look at Colorado, for example. I mean, they not that they went all in, on Nazem Kadri, but they gave up some of their future to go and get a guy that they feel is going to put them over the top and help them win. Same thing with the Minnesota Wild. They gave up the majority of their future to go and get a guy like Quinn Hughes. I don't think that Utah is at that point yet. This is their first year in the playoffs. Let's see, how they can perform. Do they have the maturity to go in and win a series? Do they have the ability to raise their game? What do they need, after this year? I think this first round is going to be very telling about that. And, it's funny. I feel like every time there's a free agent or there's a player that's potentially going to be traded, they link it to Utah. But there's rarely ever been anything to those rumors. And I think a lot of the reason is it's more of, it could make sense because Utah has the assets, right? I mean, if Utah wanted to go get Austin Matthews this summer, they could totally do it. But in my mind, it just wouldn't be worth it because, Toronto is probably going to be asking for 3 top prospects and a handful of picks. I mean, do you really want to give up everything you've built over the last 5 years to speed up the rebuild process and open up your championship window? In my mind, Utah's just not, they're not quite there yet. Maybe 2-3 years down the road when they've got some playoff experience and, these Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther have asserted themselves as superstars in the league. That, to me, is a point where, Utah could potentially, rationalize giving up some of their future to go all in. But for now, I think they're just going to continue to stick to the process and trust that process and just see where things go from here.
Thanks, Cole. Enjoy the game tonight.
Great stuff, Cole.
Thanks, guys.
Cole Bagley covers the Mammoth for KSLSports.com. We've got, we'll wrap up the show coming up next. I'm going to test Ben's play-by-play because I think we
I don't want to do this at all.
No, we may have a new worst injury during a celebration in sports history.
Okay.
Like, remember the Grammatica guy jumping up and down and he tore his ACL or whatever?
Tony Allen tore up his knee, right?
I think this is better/worse.
Okay.
All right, we'll get that coming up next. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him Matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Scotty G coming up noon to 3 at RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. All right, Ben, we brought up some examples of athletes getting hurt while celebrating.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got one. I think this one might take the cake.
Okay.
Now, it's from some random rodeo, so it doesn't quite have the it doesn't have the same notoriety as Bill Grammatica when I think he played for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Or Tony Allen for the Grizzlies. But I think this is still a winner. So, Ben, you get to let's test out your play-by-play skills here.
Okay, the Caballero is riding the old horse there. This horse is bucking. He goes off, front flip, rolls, runs away, doing the airplane motion, goes to jump on the fence.
Very excited.
He's on the fence. He's got his stripped pants on. Oh, he goes on both, and he does a... Oh! He gets up on the top rope of the gate. Does a backflip like an MMA fighter. Does it off the octagon. Does a backflip. Lands it perfectly. Mind you, he's in cowboy boots. He's got his big, what do they call those on? The chaps.
Yeah.
He looks awesome. His cowboy hat stays on as he does the backflip. He lands back in the rodeo ring and gets absolutely dump trucked by about 3 horses.
Trampled by 3 horses with riders.
With riders on them. He gets full Mufasa. He gets run over by the stampede.
How did the riders not,
How did he not watch? But he gets trucked.
Worst celebrating injury of all time?
That's why I can't be a play-by-play guy. It surprised me too much that right as we got to the action, I lost it.
You expected him to get hurt on the backflip.
Oh, I thought he was going to break his leg, and I was a little concerned that we were going to see a femur snap in half. No, he lands it perfectly, but immediately gets steamrolled.
Gets trampled by 3 horses.
By 3 horses.
Imagine that guy's on top of the world. He's like, I made it.
I did it.
He gets
bucked off the horse, does a barrel roll, looks awesome, does the little kids from the weapons run over to the gate.
Almost like a soccer celebration.
I thought he was going to break his leg jumping onto the fence or slip through it, groin shot or something. Gets to the top rack, and I thought, what, is there no injury? Does the backflip, I thought, okay, he's going to lose both of his knees. They're going to bend backwards. Lands it perfectly. And then I think it's the original Scary Movie. Just out of nowhere gets hit by a car. That's what happens here. He gets hit. And because I believe this is shot in vertical, right? The footage is shot with your phone upright. You can't see any of the peripherals of this.
The horses
of this rodeo. And the horses hit him going 1,000 miles an hour.
That guy went from on top of the world to traction in about 0.5 seconds.
Very brutal.
I hope he survived, honestly.
Yeah, that's scary. Didn't have a helmet on.
Trampled. Sean, are you a rodeo guy?
Not at all.
You don't have rodeo gear?
No?
No.
Okay.
You don't go to the Days of 47?
Because, yeah, this dude looks
Not
awesome.
unless I'm getting paid.
This dude looks absolutely awesome. Oh, I love to go to a rodeo for my people. Backflip, jumps up, absolutely annihilated. Wow.
Just steamrolled.
Really hit him.
I want to know what those riders were doing because they had to see him on the fence celebrating, right?
This doesn't, if I'm being fair, I'm not sure this is the best of the best rodeo. It's not a huge crowd. I'm so glad somebody filmed this.
Incredible, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. They kept going, too. They kept the camera going. Sweet backflip. Keeps a cowboy hat on amid a backflip. Jumps up, Michael Jordan fist pump. Absolutely hit by a Mack truck in the form of 3 horses. Wow.
Being trampled by 3 horses is not something I'm...
Because you're right, the guy did everything before that. Absolutely incredible. Got off the horse. The dismount off the horse was majestic.
The celebration was
backflip
epic.
Perfect.
Firing up the crowd.
This dude's been practicing that his whole life.
Bam, trampled.
Boom. Cowboy hat's gone, nowhere to be seen. I don't know. Oh, the nice thing is the clown that comes down to help him. And I don't mean an actual clown. I mean just some idiot who works at the rodeo. Comes down to help him.
You okay, pal?
First thing he does is goes and grabs his hat.
Again, I told you after I broke my arm on the ski hill.
Yeah, you all right?
I'm done asking people if they're all right.
No, this guy's not okay. He just got hit by a horse going
You're all right, pal?
28 miles an hour.
No, call 911. What are you doing?
It's an emergency. Get the stretcher. It's internal bleeding. Other news elsewhere, where unfortunately our show is not going to the 1 o'clock hour. Scotty gets all the breaks. Sharon Moore's sentencing coming up in the next 5 minutes.
What?
Yeah.
Was he pronounced guilty?
Well, you don't know. He's getting sentenced at noon.
No, but the sentencing comes after the verdict.
Well, I think it's the verdict and the sentencing. I think he's all getting it. Well, I think some of it he's pled to already, right?
I have no idea. That's why I'm asking you.
His sentencing. Yeah, it says sentencing. So
hard time?
I bet not. I bet it's a slap.
What's
on the wrist.
his what crime? Is this the butter knife thing?
Yeah, this is for the stalking. Though I think they threw out the stalking allegations, right?
I don't know. Sean, you into stalking?
You got the right gear for it?
No, not your thing?
Geez, Sean, you don't do anything fun.
Jeez, come on.
No rodeos?
I go on cruises.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't even do the fun part of the cruise, apparently.
Apparently. All right, well, shout out to Sharon. Good luck.
Moore pleaded no contest to 2 misdemeanor charges in the Mark 6 the same day. Misdemeanor. This guy's got to get off scot-free, other than losing his job, having his name dragged through the mud, and can't work in college football anymore. This dude's skating.
But he's not doing hard time.
This guy's about to do a backflip off a rodeo barrier.
Excited about it. Watch out for those horses coming, though. It's rough. Rough.
That'll be the civil case. That's the horses coming for him.
Yeah, you went from I just won the rodeo to I need to learn to breathe again.
Correct.
It's rough.
What happened? Rodeo accident. Oh, man, the bull got you? No. You did a backflip into a stampede of horses. What?
It's really poor judgment on my part.
There's video all over the internet.
Stay tuned. Scotty G and friends next. 97.5
Thanks, Sean.
KSL Sports Zone.